Hi, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my Stampin' Up! Studio. Today I'm going to do two cards for you in this video because they kind of build on each other. And once you start doing one, then I managed to get two parts out of two of the parts. So I'm going to be using the Tranquil Thoughts bundle. Now this bundle is going to be featured in my upcoming spring retreat. So registration for that will start next week and it'll go through towards the end of March, and the retreat then will happen in April. It's online. So all of the videos and all of the projects will be posted on YouTube with private links. So if you can't catch them as they air, they're not live, they're pre-recorded, but if you can't catch them that weekend, they're on YouTube for a year. So you have a long time that you can go watch them. There's 3 different stamp bundles that I will feature. You don't have to have those stamps. You can substitute other stamps. There are a couple of them though that are pretty unique, and this is one of them. So it's up to you if you want to purchase the whole entire kit. If you do it that way, then you get some extra added goodies, or you can just get the card supplies, or you can just purchase the videos. So once registration goes up for that, I will let you know. So I'm going to be doing a couple of videos featuring the bundles that will be in the retreat. So this is the first one. Everybody who was in my winter retreat got a little sneak peek of some of the bundles that we would use, and today is one that they did get. In fact, we're going to use one of the exact pieces that they used in the winter retreat. So Tranquil Thoughts has solid based images, and all of the sets that we're using in the upcoming retreat are more solid based. So we're not going to do any coloring, and part of the reason I haven't put it up is I have too many techniques and I have to narrow down what we're going to do, but there's not going to be any coloring. I know we're going to do some floating frames, and I'm pretty sure we're going to do some resist, but I have to kind of narrow it down so I can tell you what you need. The dies for this are really super unique. This one I'm not using yet. We have some that cut out. The ones that we're going to use today are super fun. Then I'm going to go back to making a couple more of the tie-dye backgrounds, because what we're going to do in the retreat is going to be unique and different. Probably won't be doing this because I've covered it a bunch now on my YouTube channel, but I just want to show you that what we're going to do is kind of different. So this is the third tutorial now in a row where I've made it a background with my Stamparatus, and I'm going to kind of do it a little bit different. So if you haven't caught the other two, go back and do those. Of course, this bundle has a little bit of a tropical feel, so I'm going to use some tropical colors. First, I'm going to start with Flirty Flamingo, and every time I do this and I film, I have more color because I'm talking. So I'm going to try this time to not do that. So I have Flirty Flamingo and some Coastal Cabana, and every time you do these, they're of course going to look different because you're never going to be able to control the amount of ink or the amount of water that you get on. And then I'm going to go for Shaded Spruce. And then I just filmed my berry class. I had a berry blessings class. And in that class, I say, for those of you that are in it, that I really like razzleberry, and I hardly ever use it. So our card base is going to be razzleberry, but I went with the blackberry ink because it's a little bit stronger in here, so we need a little bit less to add that color for us. So this time, instead of the other 2 times, I've added ink to my plate differently. This is super cheat because I didn't want a lot of ink. I just wanted a really light color. And then these are our spritzers. It's the way I've gotten the water on the plate every time. In our winter retreat, everybody got a spritzer. We used it a different way. But I like to show you ways that you can, want to make sure I'm not going to squirt myself in the face. Use the stuff that you've gotten in one retreat. So this time I'm going to kind of move that water around because that's why I didn't want as much ink. But you can see how it gives that tie-dye just with the water. So I'm kind of shooting that around. Get rid of those lines I put on there. So I'm going to let that sit for just a second. You can kind of move your plates. I don't want it to mix because I don't want it to turn brown, which, take all those colors. So here's my 2 cards. So for the one card, I'm just going to go all shimmer white. And I don't think you can get a prettier card on the planet than if you have a shimmer white card base and just some shimmer white accents. So that's going to be our card for that. Then our second card is going to be the razzleberry, because I said I hardly ever use it. And it's a beautiful color, so we're going to use it. Again, shimmer white, because that resists the water really well. And then here's what we're going to use in our embossing. And this is the exact piece that we used in Winter Retreat with this die. And this is from the Love Always Spoils. So now this has had a second to sit. I am not going to use any scrap paper like I did on my other ones because I don't want it to sit on here very long. And so I don't want to press it very long. So I'm just going to lay that on there like that. Barely touch it. And then lift it up. And see, now it's a much more lighter effect than my other ones have been, even though I had some dark colors on there. But see where it starts to mix, you get that gray. That's okay on this card because that's going to get covered up. So kind of lay that aside. And then I have this little scrap piece. And so now you can kind of tell where I don't want that because that looks kind of dirty. So I'm just going to lay that on there. And then pick this up. And then we have this kind of splotchy thing, but I want a little bit more. So now you can still see on here, I'm going to avoid that area down there where I kind of mixed it when I was moving the plate to show you. So I'm just going to pick it up like this now. And again, because this is the shimmer white, I have a little bit longer to work with. Oh, that's pretty. If you use just white cardstock or just vanilla, then it can get, so you can kind of move the cardstock. And these look totally different than the ones I've already done. They have a lot more of the blackberry on them. And because I was trying to avoid doing that this time, this has a lot less. So they'll just be different. And these backgrounds are so much fun to work with. Now what I did last time, and I'm not going to do it this time, when I was just making my cards, I still had quite a lot of ink on here because I filled the whole thing up. So I took this piece here. This is just another piece of shimmer white that I had, and you can tell I had more. And I just started dabbing it up. So I had this to work with. So now I have this scrap piece. I don't need another scrap piece, and you can tell we're going to use it. So then you just want to clean this up. Which when you have that blob of water, get that up off there first. And just wipe that down. And that's ready to go. We're not actually going to stamp with this on this card, although you could, because we're using sentiments that have straight lines. And a lot of times if you want to make sure your sentiments are super straight, it's a great tool to use that. I'm going to set these aside and we'll cut one thing first. And then if they're still a little damp, we'll run them, we'll heat set those. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to run this gold piece through here. And this is the other reason I'm doing 2 cards. One, because when you do that really pretty background with the tie-dye stuff, you can easily get 2, maybe even 3 cards. I could have gotten 3 backgrounds if I had put enough ink on it. So here's one of the dies that comes in it. This is the one you all got if you did Winter Retreat. You got this exact one. And when everybody had this piece and I ran it through for them. And so I cut my pieces a little bit bigger and I did one and then I catty-cornered another one. And then I was kind of over this die because when you cut it for that many people, I was like, I'm finished with this. I'm not going to do this for a really long time. So it's taken me a minute to come back to want to do it again because I cut it all out for them. And then we have this fun little square piece, but now I've got this piece here and I'm just going to use it for this. So I cut it actually a little bit smaller. You have to cut it more of a square shape to do 2 if you want 2 of the frames. You can put this on here, and then to help it not go through my thing, speed bump, I'm going to turn it. So it's going through catty corner. And make sure that's not touching you. This is such a pretty die. It's so, so pretty. This is worth the bundle itself, just these 2 dies. And then I haven't even ran the other one through, the other little frame, to see what it does. Oh, it's kind of crooked. This is how I did it last time. I'm going to do it like this again, just so I can line it up. You know, I'm a fan of 2 passes of my cut emboss machine if lining things up is taking longer than just running another pass. And because it was going to take me a minute to do that, I'm just going to do it like this. Now, how beautiful is that? Isn't that pretty? But when you run it through for lots and lots of people in your retreat, I did not peel it out for them. When I told them in the retreat, when we got to this project, that all this stuff they had to poke out themselves. So it cuts really well. It embosses because, you know, it's our cut and emboss machine. But it's just really delicate. So you have to get all these little leaves out right here. Oh, come on, I don't want to tear them. just like this. And then all that's left are all these little, you can see them here, all the little like, they pop out of cardstock better, but because this is foil, you know, it's got that foil top on it. But you just pop all these things out. Isn't that pretty? And then we have this piece here, and you can see why you need that other frame on it, because without the other frame on it, it's still stuck to your piece of cardstock. This is easier, I think, than to go through and line this back up this way, because now we have this piece, and then this will cut my square out. And now instead of trying to get two things straight under my plate, I'm just doing one. Because sometimes if you have too many things on your plate and they all move, then you got to pick your plate back up and refix all of them. And now if that one moved, I just had to fix one instead of trying to get them all to go through at once. Let's see how pretty this is. So this is why we're doing 2 cards, because I got 2 backgrounds out of the one tie-dye, and I got 2 gold pieces out of the one piece of gold cardstock. So let's see which one of these is drier. This one's probably drier. I have this little piece right here. I'm just going to take my scrap and just add a little bit more to it, because that's the only piece that's wet. The rest of it's dry. So this is a really super simple card where I've put all my stuff. Here's my other piece of shimmer white. So pretty. And if you don't use shimmer white, then you're really missing out. 1, it's so great with all the watercolor stuff, but 2, it's just beautiful. It takes all of your cards up a notch. So I'm going to take Blackberry, because if your tie-dye had been darker, then it would show up nicely. This is a lighter version of what I've already done. I'm going to stamp some words on the outside, and this says, "I thought of you today." I'm just going to stamp it right down here in the corner. And then on the inside, I'm going to use the other part of the sentiment that comes with it. And it says, "It happens more often than you know." So now we have this. Let me take this, and I'm just gonna, it's just pretty on its own, just like this. Take my adhesive. Stick this on here. It's just a nice light spring colored card. And take my little frame here, all the pieces except for that one, just one that has to pop out. So the cut and emboss machine did its job. And then for this one, I have both my size dimensionals, because this one really benefits by these tiny ones. Because I want this to be popped up just so you get that feeling of those holes underneath it. And you can see all of our tie-dye. So I'm going to put 3 on here. But the other one on the big frame, it really helps to have the bigger ones. So if you have both, then you might as well use both. I'm just going to stick this on here. And you can just do it however. This one's positioned a little bit differently than my other. It kind of just depends on how you stamped your sentiment. Paper's a little bit warped still because it's not quite dry. So you could leave it just like that. And I debated whether or not to add any embellishments, because it's pretty just like that. Especially because it's got the foil and the shimmer cardstock. It doesn't really need anything else. But you know, I'm a huge fan of adding some embellishments. But I decided to go simple embellishments, so I just went with pearls. Just our basic pearls. Literally, that's their name, basic pearls. You could whip these cards out, and you know, if you're having fun creating backgrounds, then this would be a fun card to do. So let's just add 3 pearls, 1 of each size. Oh, come on. And you're done. So there's our first card. Super simple, couldn't be any prettier. Here's it with the other background. So this one has a little bit more ink. I did it opposite this time on my other 2 videos. I've talked more and put more ink on, so this time I made a concerted effort. I was afraid if I went too dark with that, then my whole card would just be, like it would be a blotchy mess. But there's both of them equally pretty. So pretty. I'm in love with this card. So there's that one. Now let's go to back to our other one. So now we have this. So now with this, you want to decide, let me pop these out of here real quick. Okay, so you want to decide where you want. Do I want this to be the top of my card? Because you can see this is going to cover up a whole corner of your card. I really like that this is here because I'm going to lose a lot of my flamingo. So I have to decide, do I like this all splotchy here? Or do I want my flamingo to show? But this is kind of showing through here too. I think I'm going to go that way. So I'm going to stamp. I'm going to use the images that are in the stamp set. So let's start with our flamingo. I'm going to use the flowers. So I'm going to leave my things kind of here and then just kind of move them back and forth. So let's start with the flowers. Stamp these in flamingo, and they kind of go about here because I remember that that green's underneath my design. So stamp those. And then let's go with our Coastal Cabana. So we're just using the colors that we've already used, just stamping on top of those colors. And then there's these fun little leaves. And now that we've kind of based where that is, we'll just use that as our guide to where we want to stamp these other things. And we just want some of the stuff to peek out from the sides of our design. And then there's actually several leaves. We're not using anywhere close to all of the stamps that come in this. I kind of went with the direction that they were going. We'll get this leaf. There. And then the words for this one, I'm going to go back with the blackberry. And you can see how the blackberry it's a dark ink, but because of all the water that we did, it's really toned itself down. And this one says, wishing you a beautiful day. We'll just stick it right here. And then that piece of scrap paper, which I may have lost, here it is. I'm going to take this little flower that's in this set. I'm going to go back to my Stampin' Write markers. That way I can get 2 tones on it because this one actually has leaves and a flower. So I'm going to add the spruce to the stem and the leaves, and then get the flamingo here. And then this way it won't look like I have a different sheet of paper. Let's just pick someplace that kind of will have some dye, but not too much. So we've got that. And then there's this little die here. And I'll run this through the machine. You don't need to see me do that. I'll cut it out real fast. But see now, I'll show you when I put it on the paper, it will match the paper. You can do it just on a piece of shimmer white if you want. But because this has that fleck in the back, it's not going to be such a stark add to our thing. Let me just run this through. Okay, so we have this. And you can see what I mean. It just picks up that little subtle bit of the tie-dye effect behind it. So I'm going to take this. And here's this. Let's start putting it together. There's no ribbon on this to worry about. Here's a raspberry, which is a lighter version of the blackberry. So you can see once it lightened up with all of the water, it turned more into, the blackberry turned kind of into raspberry. So you can kind of decide like how far over you want all of these, because I can move it or not. So we'll put these on here first. Big dimensionals. I couldn't find what I was looking for. And you can see, just stick those in these bigger slots. And I put 4, so there was 1 on each area. I'm trying not to cover up those holes. I'll put a couple of close-up pictures on my website so you can see just how pretty this die is. And then I'm going to go a little bit this way, like that. And then to just kind of tie the colors, I didn't want those to be, the flowers to just be ink on top. And because we have this fun gold going on, I took my gold shimmer paint. It's actually the Champagne Mist, but it has that nice gold tinge to it. And this is an empty Wink of Stella, so any paintbrush would work, or you could just use Wink of Stella. And this kind of toned the color down just a fraction. And I just use it from my lid. But I kind of tied those flowers in to match the gold that we have going on over here on the frame. But you don't need to do it on all of it. You don't need to waste your shimmer paint, because the only stuff you need to do it on is the stuff that's showing. That's why I did it after. Because see, otherwise I would have painted all those flowers and there was no reason to, or all of the leaves, when the only part that's showing is this. And again, this is one of those things that up close, you really notice it. And I know the camera just doesn't pick it up. And then over here too, I just swished a little bit onto my words. Not a lot, because it will smear. And then to clean this off, I just took it over here and I just did it on here. So because I'll keep this and I can use it for different things. And now some of it will have a little bit of gold. Oops. Well, except I forgot to color this. So now I'll have to do it again. Just kind of blend that on there. It just adds a nice little subtle, and it pulls all that gold touch together. So now we're going to add this to here. See how that razzleberry really sets that off? I'm just going to cut this right here. Didn't do it on my other one, but this one's kind of going a little farther over. Add my glue. Oops. Well, you know, you always run out when you're on film. So we'll go a little overkill and add some Seal Plus to that side. And then we'll have to get it on the right spot because I don't have two shots. You know, you can move the seal, and I have started to use that feature of it so often. There we go. And then I'm going to take my baby dimensional again and add those to this. But remember, my mini dimensionals are the free gift with purchase this month. So if you buy from my website, you'll get those free. So if you've never used them, see, they're so handy on little things like this. Now you decide where to put this. On my other card, it's over here and it kind of goes off. That doesn't fit as well on this one. So I'm going to add it right here. And then for this one, I have our metallic pearls in the gold. And this is not a brassy gold. It's a very matte gold, which is how this card, the foil is. I'm going to add one to the center of my flower. And again, this card looks way different than my other one, partly because of the way I've placed things now, and just because that tie-dye every time is going to give you such a fun, it's like a whole choose your adventure every time you spritz that water on there. So here's this one. And this is so pretty. I just wish that you could see the shimmer of the cardstock, the shimmer of the gold paint, how pretty that embossing is. Here's my other one. You can see the placement's just different. Oh, and one thing I did do that I didn't do, I took my shaded spruce spritz, and this one doesn't need it as much. When I was done with this, see how it has this nice big hole here? This one doesn't have the hole, so I'm not going to even do it. But on this one I took, and you know, I love to fling my blends. It gets a little bit of aggression out. If you're mad because, you know, the world has COVID or something, you can hit that and you get that fun little spritz. This one doesn't need that. My flowers went out a little bit more. This all came down a little bit more. So you don't need it. Two of the same cards, but different. And then let's go back to the first one. So you got all this out of that fun little tie-dye. So if you're interested in taking my spring retreat or any of my online classes, the butterfly class has signups right now. And if you're in the berry class, it is shipping out probably tomorrow. They're half packed up. I can only pack things for about, they're going out with your thank you gifts if you had a thank you gift from last month. Just need something right here. So, and then the chicken class will start getting packed up tomorrow. So everybody have a great day. All the information for my online classes on my website, thank you gifts, all that. So everybody, I will see you back here later. Bye.